Singapore, a country built with many other cultural backgrounds and ethnicities, with Chinese being the most popular within Singapore. In this presentation, we will cover brief history, geography, government structure, culture, and food. Even though it says brief history, the information is a handful, so I have two other friends to help me with that.
Singapore was a British colony for 144 years, and in between the Japanese Empire had taken control over Singapore. It was later taken back by the British at the end of World War II. The Japanese Empire had Singapore from 1942 to 1945. In 1942, Japan had conquered Malaysia and the peninsula where Singapore's port was. While under Japan's tyrannical rule, the Chinese Singaporeans were treated poorly and many were executed, unemployed, and experienced staggering economic growth.
Singapore was brought together through trades, a guy named Stamford Raffles, and politics. Yay, politics. Stamford Raffles helped with the development of the Singapore harbour. In 1959, Singapore became a self-governing state under the British government. In 1963, they joined the Federation of Malaysia but left because of political differences. Later, their independence was declared on August 9, 1965. By the way, side note, this is also Avery's birthday.
Today there are many monuments and preserved remnants of the past. One of these monuments is the Merlion. With this comes a legend. The legend is how Singapore was founded, and is based around a prince from Sumarta. He saw a lion-like creature and interpreted it as a good omen. So he named it Singapura, the Lion City. Some people say that it was a tiger rather than a lion, though.
Singapore is located on the southern tip of the Malay Peninsula, and it's 85 miles away from the equator. The island is shaped like a diamond with 60 smaller islands around it, and 2/3 of the mainland is below 50 feet above the sea level. Their main island is separated from the peninsular Malaysia, up north by Johor Strait. Singapore's port is the largest and busiest in the entirety of Southeast Asia. With this being the busiest port in Singapore, there would be lots of marine traffic. Imagine road rage but on the water with boats.
The climate is usually high in temperature, ranging from 25 degrees to 27 degrees Celsius. Along with this, it typically rains throughout the year. With its seasonal winds and rains, you would assume that there would be frequent typhoons. Not necessarily. Though they are not prone to earthquakes and typhoons, they are prone to flash floods. Going back to the point where the mainland is below 50 feet above the sea level, and with regions extensive rainfall, these flash floods are to be expected.
Singapore's government is a sovereign republic after gaining independence and adopting a parliamentary democracy system. They've inherited a legal system based on English law. It's a unicameral consisting of a single house, and the members of parliament are voted at general elections. There are 3 sections: the executive, legislative, and judicial, all based on written constitution forming the supreme laws of Singapore.
In the executive branch, the president is the effective head and has to act according to the cabinet's advice. Overall, the executive branch administers the law. The next group is the legislative branch, which is comprised of the parliament. They are in charge of making laws and handing it to the executive branch to administer. Lastly, the judicial branch. If the name wasn't already obvious enough, this section revolves around the justice system. This branch independently administers the justice and interprets the law through the court. Judges and judicial commissioners are appointed by the president with the advice of the prime minister.
The head of state is the president elected by the people. They have vetoing powers and lead meetings, plus appoint the prime minister. The current president is Halimah Yacob, who is the first female president and took office on September 14, 2017. The current prime minister is Lee Hsien Loong, who took the position in 2004. This group is the decision-making section of the government.
The largest issue that Singaporeans are worried about is their financial stability. 90% of the people's top concern is the cost of living pressures. This has become an issue after the government began raising the GST rate from 7% to 9%. Inflation has also been affecting things like the increase of rent by 4.6%, food by 6.1%, private transport by 22%, and electricity and gas by 24%. And houses have also started to become unaffordable for the Singaporean residents and families.
Another problem that people face in Singapore is the gender inequality between men and women, especially the women. Women oftentimes are paid 4.3% less than men and have a higher unemployment rate. They are also more socially discriminated against, often undergoing physical and emotional abuse. On top of this, Most people suffer from poverty and economic inequality.
Singapore is built up of multiple different cultural heritages and backgrounds, which include Chinese, Malay, and Indian ethnicities. All of these different cultures in one country create Singapore's identity. With so many different cultures in Singapore, a universal language everyone uses is Singlish. Singlish is the unofficial fifth language of Singapore that stems from English and includes the dialects of Chinese, Malay, and Tamil. Although it is unofficial, Singlish is not the same as broken English.
The idea of face is also very prevalent within the country. Not face as in your face or facial features, more like your dignity. The quality of face reflects your reputation, dignity, influence, and honor. You can lose face and gain face. For example, if you respect others and act with restraints, you gain face. The idea of fivefold piety is also prevalent, and it basically means you have to give complete and total respect to your parents and elders. In some situations, elders will expect unconditional obedience from you. This reflects their main philosophy of harmony. To celebrate their culture, they often use intricacies of traditional art and design, such as Peranakan beadwork and embroidery.
The national and most popular dish of Singapore is the Hainanese chicken rice. The rice is cooked in the chicken, stocked for seasoning, which makes it taste scrumptious. After the chicken is poached and hang-dried, it is served with rice and chili sauce and cucumber for garnish.
Pandan cake is recognized as Singapore's national dessert. It's a light and fluffy sponge cake infused with the leaves of the tropical plant Pandanus amarellifolius, aka pandan. The leaves give a fresh, floral, earthy smell and taste. The cake's flavor itself is described to be grassy with hints of rose, almond, and vanilla. Aside from flavor, the leaves are also important in coloring the cake its signature green color.
We didn't put an outro in the script, so I'm recording it now, late at night. Thanks for watching and enjoy the pandan cake. Bye.